I am 67. My name is Cathie Shultz. I was born in Linwood, California. I have two brothers and one sister.
What did your parents do for a living, and whose duty was it to carry out household tasks?
My father was a Baptist minister, and my mother was a housewife. And it was her duty to take care of the household, cleaning, cooking, tending to the children. She would threaten us by saying, "Wait till your father gets home," because he was the disciplinarian.
How were you treated differently than your male siblings?
Well, my male siblings had to answer to my dad more than my sister and I. My sister and I were to help my mother around the house. My brothers did yard work around the house. We were kind of being raised to be a good housewife.
What ideas about normality, sexuality, or gender shaped your upbringing, and how did you choose to live your life?
I was raised in a fairly religious household, and you were taught that your body was your temple and that you should take care of it and not do things out of wedlock. It was a Judeo-Christian values going on in my household.
What historical events took place while you were growing up that shaped your experiences and your life?
President Kennedy was assassinated. That was a traumatic experience for the whole country. I remember where I was and what I was doing when the news came over the loudspeaker at my high school.
Were there any big developments with women's rights?
Women's rights were coming into vogue in the 60s. The women's rights issue was coming up, and Gloria Steinem was a big proponent of it. And I didn't see anything wrong with anything that they were proposing. At my high school, there was some racial tension between the Hispanic and the white students. That was more close to home than women's rights.
Was your mother ever a part of the women's suffrage movement?
Well, my mother was just a quiet housewife. When she got a chance, she did some painting, which my father didn't value very much.
Did anything change drastically between being a young girl in your household and then versus being a young woman in your household?
Well, as a young adult, I was 20 when I got married, so I really didn't live in my household very long as a young adult.
Can you tell me a little bit about your family?
Well, there's my husband, 47 and a half years. There's my oldest daughter, who's 45, and then there's her sister, who is 42, and then there's their third sister, who is now 32. When I was in school, I was also in love. I was also looking to leave my home because I had a very strict, not a very loving father, and he wasn't very nice to my mother, more verbal than anything.
Even now, in 2016, Cathie still doesn't feel comfortable speaking about the abuse her mother suffered from her father. How were you treated as a woman in the workplace?
Well, because I was a woman, I was encouraged to do a job that most women did, and that was teach. All the things I did as a working woman, the same kind of things would be done by a mother. I didn't really work in a field where there was a lot of men.
What was a typical workday during the week like for you in those years, and how did it change once you started having a family as well?
When I started having a family, I was a stay-home mom, which I opened up my own daycare for other children as well. So I just became more children's mom during the day.
How did your husband treat you in your household? Did he
share some household chores? He would do the heavy work, and I would do the cooking and cleaning. But we would discuss decisions to be made about our household, about our children, about what we were going to do with, say, some money, what we would be buying, those kinds of things. But a long time ago, when we were first married, he said, "We'll discuss it, but if I say we're doing it, we're doing it."
While raising your three daughters, did you instill certain family values?
They always knew that they were going to go to college because when they were very young, we let them know that was the expectation of them in the future.
Have you always voted, and what would you say about other young women? Do you think that they valued their vote, or do you think they took it for granted?
Oh, I think young women value their vote because if they don't vote, then their women's rights issues wouldn't come up in politics, and it's needed so that things can get done and for the good of all women. And I'm proud of the fact that right now we have a woman running for president.